Hi, I'm Pamela, and welcome to Green Stick Cottage, where I listen to and read books whenever I get a chance, and the cats allow me to. um, those of you who are cat owners, you know what that's like when the cats want to lay on top of the book you're in the process of reading. That happens quite a bit. I try to get them to cuddle up to me instead and not lay on top of my book. But they do that whether I'm reading or writing or whatever they want to, and or needle crafts or anything. They want to get right on top of it so that, it's pay attention to me, don't pay attention to that. So anyway, I have some books I have finished. And one of the first ones was The Narrows by Michael Connelly, which is part of the Harry Bosch universe, and I am reading these books in publication date order. I should have checked the publication date on this one, but I've read several now. There's quite a few I've read of Michael Connelly's books, so I'm making progress on that goal to read all his books in publication order. So The Narrows featured Bosch and an FBI agent, whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head right now. And she was featured in The Poet, a previous book that I consumed from Michael Connelly. And they end up kind of, at first they're both in different pursuits, but eventually their paths cross. And so again, I've mentioned this before, that I am not pleased with Michael Connelly's switch to using the first-person narrative for Harry Bosch, because I liked Harry better in the third person. He had more of a mystique about him, and his personality seems diminished, contained in the first person, and I guess I just don't like that as well. So it was still a good book. It's not enough to get me to stop reading Michael Connelly's books. It was just, the second book in a row with that first person Harry Bosch that is not a thrill of mine. The other chapters that weren't Harry Bosch centric were third person narratives. So that made it even more kind of contrasty and made me notice the first person thing more, and be irritated by it. But anyway, this also features a villain from a previous book, and and other, several other characters from previous books. So it's kind of like a gathering of the Harry Bosch universe into this one book. Well, not the whole universe, but parts of it. And but I decided after finishing The Narrows that I was not going to move on immediately to the closers. I kind of need to take a break from that so I can appreciate it again anew when I come back to his writing, Michael Connelly's writing. So the other book I finished is, I think this was my 6th time through Atomic Habits by James Clear. And every time I get more out of it than I did the time before. And I started reading this and listening to it in 2023. So that's 6 times in the space of a year. And I call it's a habits book, but it's a deliberate practice book. It's about deliberate practice and establishing deliberate practice through establishing habits. And so it's kind of, it doesn't make sense till you're actually using it. So, but this book has helped me a lot over the past year, but I'm not going to reread it again for a while. Thanks to Amanda at Carnivorous Me is her channel. A recent video I watched, she was talking about her current reading of Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg, who was one of the inspirations for James Clear. He gives all kinds of credit to B.J. Fogg. And so that book, anyway, so I have to thank her for reminding me that Tiny Habits was on my TBR, one of the books I want to read. So her recommendation and James Clear's definitely is going to get me to sidestep and try Tiny Habits. So I'm hoping the library has it. I haven't checked yet, but and I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it because I'm kind of buried in fiction right now, so we'll see. But always I endorse Atomic Habits. Very good book. Very helpful to me. And so instead of moving on to The Closers by Michael Connelly, I decided to sidestep, again, go into nonfiction. And I listened to In Defense of the Second Amendment by Larry Correia. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. He is I think he's a fantasy writer mostly, but he's written the Monster Hunters series. I have been... I'm waiting for the next Saga of the Forgotten Warrior book to come out. The first one is Son of Blacksword, I believe, and I really like that series. So he, I also like the Grimoire Chronicles. I think I've read or listened to all of those. I'll have to check to see if, on my series list, if I made it through. But anyway, so I thought this would be interesting to read a nonfiction book by a fiction writer that I have some familiarity with. And it was very good. I learned a whole lot, and I did not know this about him, that he has been a firearms dealer. He has the federal, I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, he has the highest federal, or he did have it, if he doesn't still have it, licensure to sell all the way up to machine guns. So he knows firearms very well. He knows the laws regarding firearms very well. And I thought he did a great job of imparting all that knowledge to me to where I could understand it. And also helpful was the narrator, who was excellent. I thought he did a great job. And I only had 2 bones to pick with the book. Number one, I don't trust the police as much as Larry does. He gives the police the benefit of the doubt in certain, what would you call it, possible scenarios in the future, that I don't have that kind of confidence in the police, because I watched what happened during Hurricane Katrina, and I know that they will break their oath to the Constitution if they think their jobs depend on it or whatever. So, and this, I have law enforcement in my family, so I'm not anti-law enforcement or anything like that, but I do know where the word police comes from. It comes from policy men. They carry out the policy of whatever leaders there are, even if they're tyrants. So like I said, I just don't have the same belief that the police won't do certain things that they should not do according to the Constitution. So I parted company with Larry there, but very slightly. And also, where I really parted company with him was when, so this book is called In Defense of the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms, and that it shall not be infringed. So we either have that right, so at a certain point in the book, I'm saying, Larry, we either have the right or we don't. You got to make up your mind. Which is it? Because he was criticizing people who wear sidearms or rifles. You can carry a rifle on I can't remember what it's called, but on your chest, pointing downward, and so that's open carry. And he was criticizing people who open carry in like grocery stores or whatever. Walmart, he mentioned Walmart. And that immediately brought to mind an experience I had in Walmart, which ended up being quite a reassuring experience, actually. But there was a man yelling and screaming in a foreign language, and he was stomping and gesticulating and very agitated, extremely agitated, and he was coming my way. And this was back when I could not walk. I was stuck in a Walmart scooter, electric scooter. So I was fearful for my life because I didn't know how much this was going to escalate. And I didn't have the option of jumping out of that scooter and running away when this guy is coming toward me. About all I could think of that I might be able to do is just kind of throw myself to the side and land on the floor and hunker down if shots started being fired. And he was so close when he came by me. He didn't spit on me intentionally, but because of his, just carrying on, his spit was coming out of his mouth and landed on me, and I'm like, ooh. And so I didn't know what he was angry about. I didn't know what had precipitated this display. But what I noticed very quickly is everybody, and this might have been during the holidays or something, because there was a line for every checkout, including the self-checkouts and everything. So it was very, very busy and packed. And so there were people all around me. I was in line at the checkout, and there were people all around me. The lines next to me on either side, and people in front and behind. And I noticed that pretty much everybody I could see in my line of sight was either hand going into a purse, hand going to a sidearm holster, hand going into fanny packs, you name it. And I knew people were prepared to defend their lives, and mine for that matter. And so I was very reassured. Fortunately, the Walmart employees got this guy subdued and out of the building eventually, but the yelling went on for quite some time, and I don't know how they did it, but I couldn't see. It was kind of around a corner by that time. But I was so, in fact, I'm getting kind of emotional about it now, is seeing that many people around me who I could count on to help, stop if a shooting incident began, that we weren't helpless. We were not helpless in that situation. And I'm very thankful that I live in a state that allows adults to carry open or closed without any kind of license or permit or anything like that. It's a true right here. And people exercise it in Walmart all the time. Every trip to Walmart, I see people, carrying openly. And there's no telling how many are carrying closed. So when Larry brought up the man in Walmart walking around, and he's just kind of making fun of a man walking around in Walmart carrying openly, and and he's reading, this hypothetical guy's mind, I guess, that he's just doing this to show off or whatever. Doesn't matter why he's doing it. It doesn't matter. Either we have the right to bear arms and to defend our lives, or we don't. And so Larry needs to pick which one it is, if you ask me. And I will pick the reassurance I got in Walmart that day over anything else. And because nothing, having immediate access to something that can save your life and the lives of those around you is, it just means everything. And I remember Charlton Heston, this is decades ago, saying on a talk show one time, without the Second Amendment, we have none of the other constitutional rights without preserving the Second Amendment. So that's, that's so that book was very, very good. I learned a lot more about various laws and court decisions and things like that, and the kind of qualifications you have to have the kind of license and that Larry Correia had or has, and to be able to sell firearms and how it all works. So that was very informative, and I appreciated that book. All right. The next one that I finished was The Wager. Now, I did return that wonderful hardback with the, pristine dust cover. I turned that back to, returned it to my friend at my Handcrafters group and thanked her profusely for allowing me to read it, because absolutely thumbs up, fantastic book. The end was surprising to me. So it might be surprising to other people, but in the end it was like, yeah, I could see that happening. So it's this is, it's amazing that this is a true story. This is a history book, and it draws, the author drew on many documents, many diaries of the men who experienced the loss of the Wager, the ship in the story, one of the ships. There's and there's other associated stories that are brought in, because there was this whole squadron that went on a mission from England in 1740, and this was during the war that's called the War of Jenkins' Ear. So check that out, look it up. I'm going to try to do more reading. I would like to find out what's available that tells the Spanish side of that, that illuminates the Spanish side of that war, because this one kind of does a lot to it's very adventurous. Oh my gosh, what these men went through, and this is not unique to shipwrecks. I mean, just the voyages themselves were just filled with peril, and I mean, it's just, this is back when men were men. I mean, really. I mean, I guess, that's a saying, but it really came home that these people, these men, went through to hell and back. I mean, it's, the ones who survived, the survivors, many did not survive. I mean, the numbers are very sad of how many set out on in this squadron that was headed by George Anson, and it's just overwhelming sometimes, the human cost of these seafaring adventures, I guess you would call them, or missions. That's what they were. This was actually a military mission disguised as something else. I can't remember what, but wow, fantastic book. I loved it. I'd love to read more of David Grann's books based upon his excellent job with this one. By the way, The Wager won the category, the Goodreads Choice Award for the History and Biography category. And I voted for it, of course. And it was the only book in all the nominations that I'd even read, so I voted for it. And then when I checked the results, I was so thrilled when it won, because it really deserved it. And also, I checked some of the other awards, and one of them is a book that I got to tell this story. I looked for this book. Tammy on the Protagonist's Pub, she loved this book so much, she pre-ordered the second book in the series. And that is Fourth Wing. I can't remember who the author is right now, but I'll put an image up here. And I noticed that so when I first watched Tammy talking about it and her enthusiasm for it, I thought, oh, I'll probably like that too. Just like I liked her endorsement of Promise of Blood, and yes, it came through for me when I read it. And so I thought, well, she was right about Promise of Blood. I'm going to go for Fourth Wing. So I immediately went to my library, and they did not carry it in any form. And I was so bummed. I thought, well, I'll put it on my Amazon wish list. So then, when I saw the awards, Goodreads awards, that one, Fourth Wing, I think that it won the romantasy category, I think was what it was in. And so I was reminded of it, and I thought, well, let me check the library again, just in case. Guess what? In a matter of a few weeks, they have it in multiple formats. But guess what else? The waiting list. So I immediately put hold on both the digital and the physical copy. I was number 11 in line. I'm now up to number 7, I think, in line for the physical copy. And I was number 31 for the digital copy on Libby, and I think I'm in the high 20s now. So who knows when I'll get to read it, but at least I'm on the list now. But that's how quickly, I don't think it was even a month since I first looked it up, and then when I looked it up when the Goodreads Awards came out, and within that period of time, that many people had jumped in front of me. So I should have done a purchase request, and maybe, I don't know, but it is what it is, and I'm on the list, so I'm gratified with that for now. And so as I was looking through the Goodreads Awards, I noticed that a book appeared twice, won 2 awards. And the first one was for historical fiction, which I like history, so I thought, well, I would probably like that. I like historical fiction. And then I noticed it also won the award for debut novel, and that is Wayward by Amelia Hart. I think, yes, Amelia Hart. And to my shock and amazement, I still had the library website open. So I thought, well, I better hurry up and put a hold on that one too, as well as Fourth Wing. And I got there and it said on shelf. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Great. So I immediately put a hold on it and picked it up that week. And I've been reading it ever since. And it is, so this is one of my current reads. And I love this cover. I don't know if you can tell, but a lot of these little, mostly insects here, they're shiny, and you can't really tell so much, but in person I can tell. And I think it's really pretty with the tree and all that, and the crow. And so this is a book that has a triple timeline. So the first one is 1619. This takes place in England. I can't remember exact. Seems to me like it's in the West. Southern part of England in the West, but I may be wrong about that. So, and so the first timeline is 1619, and a woman, basically accused of witchcraft and what she's going through. The second timeline is 1942. And so this is also in England, same place, same geographical location. And she's a young, an adolescent girl. I think she's 16. I think the woman in 1619 is more like 20s. But this girl is younger, 16 or 17. And she's very in tune with nature. The woman in 1619 is a healer, and of course that's why she's being, if she didn't heal everybody, I guess she was a witch or something. I don't know. I'm well, I'm getting close to the halfway point. So it's pretty good. It's very good. And then the third timeline, I'm not sure. It's contemporary. I'm not sure if it mentions a year, but it's contemporary. And the woman in that timeline, she ends up in this same geographical location. And these are generations of women from the same family. So, and I don't want to tell much more than that, but I do want to read this quote because it's very interesting to me. This is from Macbeth. The wayward sisters, and it's spelled like this, the wayward sisters, hand in hand, posters of the sea and land, thus do go about, thrice to thine, thrice to mine, and thrice again to make up 9. Peace, the charms wound up. And there's 3 women in this story, so I figured that's what the thrice was about. And then right underneath the quote, she has, wayward is used in the first folio edition of Macbeth. In later versions, wayward was replaced by weird. So apparently that's what wayward means, is weird. So I was intrigued by that right away before I start, because I read that. I always start with the book flaps, the back of the book, and then, start right away reading all the front matter. So I had read that before I started reading the prologue. So anyway, I'm enjoying this, and I try to get through 3 chapters a night, one in each timeline, to try to keep myself sorted as to what's happening in each timeline. But very good book. I like it a lot, and so far. And the other book is a listen of my currently reading is a listen, and it is called Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. It is number 6 in the Red Rising series. It has the things I like about, that I've liked from the beginning of the Red Rising series, which started with the book Red Rising. However, as the series has gone on, as has happened with many series I've loved and enjoyed, it deteriorates. So even though this has a lot of the really good stuff from the earlier books, it also has the addition of really bad stuff, mainly in the graphic language department. And I mean, not just profanity, but very descriptive, degenerate language, I guess you would call it. And it really detracts from the good stuff in the book. I remember Red Rising. I don't know what it is about series these days. Is it the publishers, the editors, the authors? I don't know why this happens. But I remember in Red Rising that one of the things I liked about it was, now, here in the United States, the word bloody is not a profane word, is not a bad word. But I understand, in the UK it is a bad word, a curse word, a swear word, whatever. And so in Red Rising, they would, instead of saying bloody damn, they would say gory damn. So the author was using a euphemism, gory, for bloody, to avoid using any kind of curse word, I assumed. But now every kind of curse word, every kind of description of every disgusting activity is in this book, Lightbringer. Oddly enough, the title is Lightbringer, which is the name of a ship. This is a science fiction series. And I just don't know why that happens. Why the books as I guess they get successful, and then they want to push an agenda of, disgusting things. I have no idea. But I only have 8 hours left. This is a very long listen. I think it was over 20 hours. So I think I have just under 8 hours left. I'm going to finish it because the good stuff is good. But I probably, if he continues the series after this, I probably won't continue because I'm tired of hearing about, private parts and, anyway, there's too many good books out there to just wallow in that kind of language and descriptiveness. So very sad, sad ending to the Red Rising series for me. So next I'll talk about my TBR I have, I'll mention Tammy again at the Protagonist Pub, and I will put a link in the description box to her book club a video about her book club she recently started on Fable. Now, I had some trouble getting that app downloaded on my phone, but I was able to get it downloaded on my Fire tablet. So I'll be able to participate in that. And my library, the first book is, the book for January is called Veiled in Smoke by Jocelyn Green. And it is the first book in the Windy City Saga by Jocelyn Green. So I don't know any more about it other than it's two sisters and a bookshop, which that's enough for me. So to give it a try. So I noticed that my library had it on the shelf, so I get to pick it up tomorrow and start reading it. So I will, read it along with Wayward at night before bed. So we'll see how, I'm not doing well in that category. So I seem to do better with the audios during the day while I'm needleworking. So that one's coming up tomorrow. That'll start tomorrow. And the other book and I already talked about Tiny Habits. And I forgot to mention, I was going to read Knit Together by Debbie Maycomer. During December, Sarah at the Bookish Knitter was doing, she was one of the people, there were more, doing a Debbie December event. I never cracked this open, sadly, but I still want to read it. So it's in my TBR pile. And I think I might have mentioned this book already. This was a Goodreads giveaway called Poor Dear by Claire Oshetsky. And I did go a little bit into it. I think I'm on chapter 1, so barely started. And it starts off, I think the main character is a teenager, 16, I think. And she decides to write her story from the time she was 4 years old and she experienced a traumatic event. And so Poor Dear is like an imaginary friend, maybe not so friendly, who has been with her since that event and encouraging her to tell the truth about what happened. So I'm interested in learning about what happened, and also, this was a Goodreads giveaway, so I want to try to read it, sooner rather than later, so I can give a review of it. So those are the books I'm most focused on getting into. And that brings me to this week's DVDs. And I was very happy with these, especially Aquaman. I really liked Aquaman. I especially, the special effects were just amazing. And what I decided on the 2 DVDs I did for this week, because the one thing about superhero type movies like this is that you have clear lines between good guys and bad guys. Nothing's ambiguous. The good guys win. It's a feel good kind of movie for me. And so I decided to try this one, Aquaman, and it was amazing. I thought all the actors did great, and I didn't find out till later that she's, kind of infamous, Amber Heard. I didn't recognize her name or anything, but anyway, I thought she did a good job, and then there's there's 2 DVDs. So one of the DVDs is the special features, the bonus features, and I tell you what, sometimes I enjoy those more than the actual movie itself. Is learning how they did all these things, how they made the people look like they're in water and like they're talking in water, and it was just quite fascinating to me. I love learning about jobs that I have no clue about, and how they do these things. How they construct sets, how they, and how they do all the stunts, and it's just anyway. It was quite informative. I loved that about it. And I loved the whole good guy versus bad guy thing. So that was a great one. The other one I got was Shazam. And this one was more humorous, kind of, but very, the evil villain was very evil, very awful. And so the contrast between him and Shazam and I didn't really know anything about the Shazam character. With Aquaman, I remember watching the TV series with Patrick, somebody, so I had a little bit of a clue on what Aquaman was about, at least according to that TV series. So, but I had no idea about Shazam, other than I think I've seen the uniform or the costume or whatever before, and maybe saw a comic here and there, but didn't, I didn't know anything about the origins of Shazam. And not only do you get the movie version of his origins, you get a lot, and of the villain as well. You get a lot of the background in the bonus this is another 2 CD set, and in the bonus CD you get a lot on that, and I found that very I always find those so interesting. So I will not be checking out any DVDs at the library tomorrow because I don't have transportation to go back a week later. These are only 7-day checkouts. So I'm going to have to wait 2 weeks before I can get any more DVDs. And I'm actually thinking about taking a break from them. Even 2 DVDs was, two DVD set, 4 DVDs, let me put it that way. 4 discs was too much for me to watch in a week comfortably without staying up too late. So from now on, if I do check out a DVD at the library, it will be just one. It might have 2 discs inside, but it's just going to be one checkout. Because I want to be able to relax and not worry about, am I going to be able to finish this before it's due back at the library? So, but for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to focus on watching YouTube, because that's the other thing about the DVDs is it takes away from my YouTube watching time. And I've been missing a lot of you, and I want to, get back to, I want to catch up on videos I haven't seen, or just try to keep up with new videos. So YouTube is going to kind of be my evening watching. So that's my BookTube for today, and I hope you're reading or listening to something wonderful and enjoying yourself immensely. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.